Better late than never, better late than never, forever hard to measure. I might see my future fall away, but you control time, so my future do what you say.
Positive Phil, man, it's good to see you, bro. I appreciate you pulling up. How you been, man?
I've been all right, thriving and surviving, busy. The grind don't stop. I don't think I'm the king of doing too much. Um, Turning 40, I think my body's telling me to not do too much. But beyond that, I'm doing good. How about you?
That's dope, man. I'm doing well, man. I'm definitely in that busy season of trying to make sure I prioritize family, but obviously, we got jobs to make sure we serve well, and then there's a lot of interests and passion buckets, right? So I wouldn't say juggling, but trying to prioritize those things. So I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah, that's a multi. There's some like multi-talented, but I can't. Multi-vocational. There's a term, and I'm gonna find it, where someone was just like they just don't have linear. They can't just do one thing.
Right.
They have to have their hands in multi-creative endeavors.
Yeah.
And just a normal 9 to 5 just doesn't light them up. So then you try to do entrepreneurship, you do all this stuff and all that, but then you realize there's not that much time in the day. I'll find the term because someone sent it to me and it was like the light bulb went off, like that's me.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like it's a burnout. It's why do I have so much interest? Like why can't I just like one thing? It's different.
The gift and the curse, man. Well, that kind of brings me to how I want to start this convo off, man. It's funny that you say kind of multi-talented. I've been in this season. I would say I've been in this headspace probably the past year and a half to 2 years. I remember the last time you and I talked. I want to say it probably was either early last year or late the year before. And I think that it was one of those moments where it just planted a seed. It just kind of fertilized the soul of my heart and soul. And it kind of I'm in this season of like what is my why, but also for folks that are trying to like maybe get unstuck in their careers and just navigate their bigger why. I just want to have conversations around that. And that's the best way that I kind of learn. So I would love to start this convo off, man, by just folks getting to know who Phil is. I personally look up to you from afar, man. You're somebody that when it comes to being a creative and being consistent as a creative and an entrepreneur, I really admire, man. So I want you to know that. But tell folks who Positive Phil is, and we'll go from there, bro.
Yeah, I'm sorry looking down. It's going to bother me until I figure out that word. So like that's just me. That's just me. I'm like looking for it in my past text. But my name is Phil Wilkerson. Father. I like that you start off with family. I'm a father. I'm a husband. Son-in-law. I live at home with my in-laws. Our in-law, my father-in-law passed away. Those are my main identities. But then I happen to work in education. I work in higher ed, work at George Mason. I've been there going on, this is past 7, so going on into my 8th year. So worked in higher ed, working in the career center space, particularly. Right now, mostly in my main role right now, I work with employers. But that's just, like I said, my day job. But then I'm also a podcast creator. I just recently published a book. I laugh because I'll share the story with you. Like, I kind of just did that as a joke for myself to see how the publishing world was. A member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, involved in a community mentor, and just a wide range of things. I know that intro is all over the place. I could really go in further directions of being a military brat and growing up in this area, going to James Madison like you. But I'll just stop right there as a little bit of a snippet of all my different identities. Proud Black man too.
That's right.
Happy Black History Month too. So I add that into who I am. But all those different intersections, all those different identities, I think are who I am.
I love that, man. I love that word intersection. Let's start off with the creative side of Phil, because I think, this is my bias, but I think that might be the area where you and I kind of like just get a little bit more energized, man. So first off, kudos to you. I got you said it was a joke, but man, like
it was good, family. God has called me to help people to align and maximize their calling with their purpose. And one of the ways that I do that is through writing. My first book is called Purpose Driven Work, which focuses on helping people to get unstuck in their dreams, callings, and their careers. My second book is Purpose Driven Coaching, which really focuses on helping educators, leaders, and workforce development professionals to use coaching to make an impact on individuals' lives. And then lastly, my most recent book is called On Purpose Leadership, which I wrote with my homeboy Vat Lee, which focuses on cultivating leadership for teams and organizations. You guys can purchase any one of my books on Amazon. Y'all be blessed out here, man.
I've already used your book.
It's a positive joke. I like this. Okay, so I'll tell you what the impetus was for that. So I turned 40, and everyone thinks of these milestone birthdays, right? Like 40, it's all downhill from there. They got these awards, 40 under 40. So I was like, well, I wanted to think of celebrating this milestone and getting advice for my my network. So I was like, hey, if you got any advice for me when I'm turning 40, put it into this Google form. And a variety of people did it. And I said, not only your advice, that you give to me, but also like quotes that, inspire you, people, so not only your inspiration, but what inspires you, and just put it in this form and I'll compile it. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll just put it in a book. And I wanted to think, all right, how hard is it to publish a book? I think we always do these things where we put excuses. Oh, you can't do that. You can't do this. And I tell a lot of students, particularly creative students, like, you don't need this to do this. Like, you do music. You don't need a record label to be an independent artist. You make your music, and either you can put it on SoundCloud, or you do it directly on the main listening platforms, Apple and Spotify. And so that was my thing. I was like, all right, I want to see how it is. I want to see the process of publishing a book. And so I literally got the advice in November and published this book in January. Now, I will tell the listeners, it's a great little book, not trying to sell it, but I do have an idea now that I went through this process that now, and we talked about this, remember, it's like you said one day you're going to write a book, but I was like, okay, now that I went through this process, and this was kind of like learned by experience, I want to publish, and I call it my real book, which has been this idea in my head for like 5 years. And it's called The Tale of Two Virginias. So I'm going to write a history book because I'm a history major and I love history. I want to write a history book about my father, who was one of the first Black students at VMI, and my recently deceased, or my father-in-law, who was a mentor to me. He went to UVA, and coincidentally, they went to college around the same time. Obviously, they didn't know each other. They had two parallel lives, but they had a lot of intersections, facing discrimination. My father-in-law is Black. My father is Black. My father-in-law is Jewish. And so they had discrimination during their college experience. My father had this military, was going into the military. My father-in-law was, anti-war and, anti-Vietnam. And so I wanted to show this life that they both lived and how they mirrored each other in so many ways, but how they were different in so many ways at the same time in Virginia. And then I also wanted to talk about Virginia history, like what was going on. So I'm going to call it The Tale of Two Virginias. So for all those out there, I don't know, give me like 10 years though. I don't know how long it's going to take me. I got to get this PhD first. Whatever. But okay. I've been adding to it every day. I've been getting primary resources. I've been getting like yearbooks. I'm going to interview more, like dive deeper and interview my dad who's around. I'm going to, go to UVA and get some history stuff, like primary resources. So this is a long-term project. But now that I know that this is a long-term project, I know that if I have like a manuscript, I know where I can take it. I know how to publish it or promote it or pitch it, So that was this exercise. This book really gave me the motivation that I could do that long-term project.
Yeah.
And that it's possible, basically.
Yeah. I love that, man. I do recall we had a conversation, our last conversation, we talked about just publishing. And I feel strongly that all of us that are in the workforce, I think we all need to to write and publish. And it's not for the reason that you think. It's for the reason that to see how easy it is to actually produce something, but also it's pretty cathartic. And as I was reading your book, I'm gonna tell you, like, I haven't got through all of it, but there's kind of two things that stuck out to me. One was a quote, but also your style of how you publish this book. One thing that you're really talented in is being a curator, you know, because how you published this book was you curating ideas and feedback and sort of inspirational moments throughout your life. And I think that, like, what from afar prior to you publishing this book, man, I see you as a creative that curates great ideas that helps to motivate other people, you know, because I know we've talked about you and your coaching business. We talked about you as the I'm gonna call you the mayor of George Mason.
Unofficial.
Yeah, the official mayor of George Mason.
No, I always say the unofficial. I gave myself that title. Yeah.
But I say that to say this, man. It's like, as a creative, I think being a curator is one of your superpowers. You know, I think some folks are talented from taking things that are just from that, like, from idea to putting it on to paper. But some folks like yourself, like you are a history buff. And in a lot of ways, that takes a lot of it takes a different type of skill set to do research, to curate ideas. So I really give you kudos, man, because I think it's phenomenal you publishing your book, but using your own strengths to do so. Tell me a little bit, man, now, like, you know, you talked about your next venture is to publish, to be more of a history project for your next publication. Just zoom out a little bit and tell me a little bit about, like, how you see yourself as a creative. You know, I see you as a podcaster, you're a published author, but I'm curious, just in your own lens, because that's not an identity that we talk a lot about. And I just want to have language from the people that I talk to. So how do you see yourself, like, as a creative personally?
It was good, family. Better Late Than Never is more than just an album. It's a concept that it's never too late for us to change our mindsets and our lifestyles. This project was exclusively produced by my homeboy, Matlock, who has produced for some of the best artists in the world, including Lil Wayne. You guys can catch this project and stream it on all platforms, including Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, you name it, it's there. As you guys tune in to Better Late Than Never, it's my prayer that this project helps you to live a purpose-driven life. Be blessed.
A tinkerer and, like, someone that I'm not bogged down by perfection, or like I know this book might have typos or whatever, or I don't know, or I've done podcasts with my audio cut out, I just do. I think that I don't overthink it. Maybe I'm impulsive. And these thoughts, like, this idea pops in my head. I'm like, I'm just going to do it before I convince myself out of it. You know, like, that's kind of how I've always been, is someone that's learn as I go, you know, like, I'll figure it out. And so in my creative space, I think, like, all right, you said I get ideas from people. I got ideas from you. I have your book. I didn't tell you this, but I actually have and I'll send it to you. I have a Google spreadsheet that says books by people I know. And then, like, I had a list of all the people I know that had books, and I have a list of that. And then I also have, like, TEDx's by people I know, and I have a list of all, because I want to do a TEDx. So I'm usually inspired by other people. And then I'm like, all right, that is you said my superpower is that I just ask people how they did it. And then I kind of, like, figure it out myself. Right. And so, like, a creative that leverages relationships. I think that I don't do a lot of this project, I don't do a lot of things solo. So, for instance, this book has a lot of advice from other people. My podcast has guests. Right? It's not like me just talking about myself. This history book is going to be a collaborative effort. I'm going to need people to help me with this book. I don't know. A lot of things I do, I need other people. So in that creative space, I think I'm like a collaborator. I like to work with other people. I think relationships matter the most in my creative endeavors. And also, like, I really try to, like, stay away from paralysis by analysis. Like, I just do. You'll figure out, you'll get better. Like, I've gotten better. I've done podcasting. And if you listen to what I recorded 7 years ago to what I record now, it's leap years, right? This might be my first of many books. Who knows? This first book might be like oh man, that's my first book. And then I'm like doing better books, like, but I don't bog myself down by like having to be perfect the first time. I just like do it. Just do it. And then you'll get better and keep doing it. So that's the kind of creative I am. I don't know. That was all over the place, but that's the first thing that came to mind was working with other people and just doing that. I think that's the main kind of creative I am. Like, I got a camera. I don't know how to be a photographer, but I got a camera. I'm playing around with this nice camera, and I took family photos, like that were nice, using the backlight. And I was like, I'm not gonna call myself a photographer, but like I want to learn how to use this camera. like, like I just want to learn how to use all these things, these devices, learn how to audio edit. I just want to learn this stuff just cause kind of thing.
That's dope, bro. I mean, that's phenomenal. I mean, like a couple things that I heard you just articulate was that you don't put a lot of time into thinking about what other people are going to think or getting bogged down by decision fatigue. I think you call it paralysis by analysis. Mm-hmm. And I love that you are a natural collaborator. Like now that I'm thinking of it, like, you referenced your book, the podcast, and a bunch of other stuff where for you, they're joint ventures. Like you see yourself as an opportunity to work with others. And I never thought about it like that. In a lot of ways, it sounds like you're leaning into your natural strengths and possibly your interests as a creative. And I say that now, I frame a question around this. I'm like almost the opposite. So I wouldn't call myself a perfectionist, but I am an aesthetics type of person. Like I like things to be visually and I guess to look good and feel good. And so I actually I have a lot of time often kind of like telling myself, Q, you need to just release this. You need to write this. You need to just put it out. So in your own words, I'm curious to, like, from a coaching standpoint, for those of us that out there that have, like, I don't know, we're people pleasers or we're afraid of like putting out our works, like, what would you have to say? What is the challenge with that? And like, what kind of feedback would you give to people that might struggle with that?
I wouldn't say that's never necessarily a bad thing. And I will be honest to say, like, sometimes I need, I need people like you. So I would say, find your complementary person and find the person that's the doer. But I also, like, for instance, I do definitely need someone to be like, Phil, that don't look good. And when I say that, though, I don't do that. I'll rephrase it. I don't need to be a people pleaser for people I don't care about. Your opinion of me, when I don't care about it, that I don't need to please that. But like, I definitely need to be a people pleaser for my wife. Like, I need to make sure that she's happy with it. Or like, the people that contributed to this book, like, or the guest, like I said, like, I also slow down and say, hey, are you happy with this podcast? And the guest was like, no, I don't like it. I'm not going to release it. So there's people out there that I need to work with that may have more of, to your point, an aesthetic or style, or saying like, maybe we slow down, but I'm always the one that's like, let's just do it. And I challenge them. And so I think that works complementary. And so for me, I think the advice I give to anybody, and I think this is beyond just creative stuff, is like, we already talked about strengths, is find people that complement your strengths. Like, I have friends and people that I trust that are more analytical. Maybe they are the perfectionist, and I need them to be like, the dot the I's and cross the T's people. And then I'm this, like, let's go. And we find a happy medium, meaning like, maybe we're like, let's go. And rather them saying like, okay, we'll be perfect, we find a medium, like, okay, we're going to go in a week. Like, right. Like, like, we're still going to compromise. Like, I'm not going to slow down. We're going to get it done. they're going to say, we're going to get it done, but it's going to look good by when we get it done. And we find a happy medium, right? So that we're not taking forever. And I found that has been the best advice that I ever had, was that, find complementary relationships, find things that if you know that you're lacking in, or as you said, like have a deficit or have something that you don't think, you need a push or challenge in, find the other person that's doing that really well and work well with that person. I felt like that's been the best benefit, is finding complementary things. So that'd be my advice to that person. Find someone to challenge you. Maybe you have someone that, puts you on a deadline. Like you're gonna I want it to be perfect, and then you have someone say, I don't care if it's perfect or not. I need it out by next week.
Yeah.
And that benchmark will force you to all right, whatever it is, it is. I'm just gonna turn in something,
Yeah.
that will help you, and it works out that way. So
That's a beautiful thing, man. I think that the two things I probably heard from you was, one, you don't put much of an emphasis. You do have a value on people, but it's the people that matter to the art that you're producing. And then secondly, in terms of accountability, you do care about whatever you create being a quality product. But in order to create that accountability, it's through people, it's through partnerships to get their feedback. So I think that's really good coaching tips, man, to share. I'm gonna share this before we transition a little bit, man. A wise man once told me, be your own cheerleader. Hyping yourself up is confidence, not arrogance. Don't let anyone dim your light. So this is from a wise man who just published a book. It's tip number 37. I'm 37 years old, so for me, I think it's serendipitous, man. That's the one that I drew to. I like that quote that you wrote, man, because I think that at the end of the day, our time is very limited. And I think sometimes we can be negative of our own selves. This is like from our family, how we see ourselves identity-wise, our art that we produce, so many different things. But you echo being your own cheerleader. I love that, man. Like for you personally, I see you from afar, Phil. I know like all of us have real lives and, traumas and just things that happen. But like Positive Phil is really something that I see you as, like somebody that champions having that just a light of some shape or fashion. What has it looked like for you, man, is just navigating you being your own cheerleader, you having that positive mindset. How has that been? How have you been able to just champion that throughout your life?
I don't know. I think I became, I'm not going to say I've always been my own cheerleader, but, as I started studying well-being, going through the counseling program at Mason, learning about, feelings and stuff like that. I think that over time, I've learned the value of positive self-talk. And like, I've been in the opposite. I've been in places of like deep depression where like, it's weird, you ruminate and the only voices you hear in your head were just negative. And that like literally, if you had those kind of that is the actual definition of depression. You hearing those voices, and that really can be a detriment to your well-being and your mental health. But the power of just like, that's like resilience, is like when you say to yourself, like, and it's not toxic, right? You can acknowledge that, things are bad, but then you can also like visibly see it as not as a woe is me victim mindset. You can see it as a bad situation, as a challenge to overcome. I don't know if it's Marcus Aurelius or one of those Stoic people, but they found like even in suffering, you can say like, okay, this is really bad, but if I can overcome this, I'm a hero. Like how you talk to yourself. And so I think about that like all the time in regards to that cheerleader stuff. Is like, think about the cheerleaders, on the sidelines. Like you can be losing it in a football game, but the cheerleaders still have to cheer, right? Okay, let's go. And then like the score is like lopsided, right? Like they can't stop cheering, right? I thought about that. Like, sometimes they just sit there, but they still have to do the like, okay, like they still have their routine, right? Like, right? And so I think about that, the power of consistency. Like you still have a job to talk to yourself positively in bad situations or negative ones. And it doesn't have to be like, let me phrase, I know there's some people that have affirmations that are like, you're the best, you're the most good looking person. I'm not going to go that far, but I do say things to myself like, you know, I think I am a good public speaker. I could do this, you know, like things that I really, you know, infuse confidence in things that I know I believe I'm good at. You know, I believe that I can talk to anybody.
On average, it takes Americans 11 months to change careers. What we found at Lenore Coaching is it takes our clients about 6 months to change careers. Even more so, the first 60 days is where we've seen our clients land interviews and job offers. It's not because we have a magic wand, it's just because we have a comprehensive and concise career transition program. The 3 biggest reasons that we've seen folks struggle to change careers is because they don't actually know what they want, they don't know how to articulate their value to an organization, or they don't have an effective job search strategy. I suggest you try our 60-day career change course. I guarantee you that you will produce results in the job search process. Be blessed.
And then evidence has shown that I could talk to anybody. So I say that, and maybe I'll say like, you know, if I get nervous, like last night I had to do a speech. I got an award for Spirit of Giving. And I actually, you know, I was very nervous. I like stomach, my legs was moving. My wife was like, you got this, you okay? My wife's next to me. And people, you know, people can say like, oh, Phil, you're not, I was super nervous. I'm sitting at the same table as the president of the university. And then this one, a woman, a professor, high esteemed, worked at Mason for like 19 years, went before me. She wrote her speech and it was clean. I was like, oh, I didn't write mine. I thought I was just going to kind of freestyle it. And I was talking, and Maggie's like, are you talking to yourself? And I was like, yeah, like I was talking my speech out, what I was going to say. And then I just said to myself, like, she even said this. She's like, okay, Mr. Toastmaster, you could do this. I said, yeah, I could do this. I could do this. And then I did it. And it was over with, right? Like, and so I think like the power of positive self-talk, I've learned that from the studies of well-being. You know, I particularly, for those out there, listen or, you know, Get the Science of Happiness by Sonia Levinsky. That's a book that I got about how much agency we have in regards to our happiness. Like we have control. Like there's things outside our lives that we don't have control over. There's things that are predisposed by our environment, nature, nurture, all that. But then there's things within our agency, you know, that we can't control how we look at the world, right? And so that gives me agency, that we have a little bit of agency within our circumstances. Even, you know, if you got no legs, you know, you could say like, well, I got no legs, but I'm still could be the best wheelchair basketball player of all time, right? You know, like you could take a really horrible adversity and still go to the Special Olympics and be a champion, right? Like look at those both ends, right? You know, and still be happy, right? Say I still feel fulfilled and have a purposeful life. And then another one would be that there's the Greater Good Science Center in Berkeley. They have a lot of great resources about happiness. And actually Mason does too, the Center for the Advancement of Wellbeing. But I just learned about this stuff. And I started learning about it around 17, 18, when I was actually going through a hard time. I just started listening to positive, like, and I say positive, I started looking into well-being resources, like how to be happy, how to, you know, this, because I was going through a hard time journaling. And I think that's what kind of built me to the person I am. It was actually like reading about it a lot or listening to podcasts about it a lot, or that was the content that I consumed, you know, was that kind of stuff. So that's kind of made me who I was recently. Well, not recently, I guess I've been like this for a while, like the counseling program, that helped me. So it was all these little buckets of learning opportunities that I learned about happiness and well-being and pouring into yourself and talking to yourself positively.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Man, that's
sorry. I didn't mean to say yeah. I say yeah. I say yeah. I mean, you said that's beautiful. I said yeah.
You affirmed yourself.
You said that's beautiful. Yeah. I was like, I'll take it. Thank you.
So if I'm keeping it a buck with you, bro, I think that it's beautiful, Phil, because one, on the surface level, you and I are Black men. And just from a cultural standpoint, I think we're just getting to the tip of the iceberg where we're like, hey, as Black men, we probably need to talk more about mental health and wellness and just be with it.
Oh, yes.
right? So just on the surface level, it's phenomenal. And then the second thing that I kind of heard was, I think that through your own trials, the own pain and perhaps anxiety and depression that you face, you made a conscious decision to try to solve that problem. And so I think that life gives us a lot of choices on a daily basis, and it's pretty much two choices. We can try to do something about our challenges, or we can ruminate and let it dwell. And perhaps there's a third choice, which, you know, obviously I hope that nobody like self-deletes, but like there's choices. And I think that what I hear you is leaning into the tension of like, man, how can I help myself? And that's really a strong kind of a coaching moment for all of us to lean into. And I think like the third thing is you were processing was along the lines of just what you tell yourself. You know, my worldview, I do hold a biblical worldview. And so I do believe like God hardwired us to constantly communicate with other people and himself. And I think that for you in particular, like you are using verbal affirmation to communicate with yourself, to tell yourself like everything's going to be okay, or you are worthy in some shape or fashion. And I think the example that you kind of led with at the beginning was with your speech. You know what I'm saying? Like it's beautiful that you receive the feedback from your wife and encouragement, like, hey, Mr. Toastmaster, you about to.
Yeah, she joke about that. Yeah. And then people be doing that too. They be like, and then, you know, sometimes I think people like positively troll me into stuff. Like, all right, like if I'm really being, you know, mean, okay, Mr. Positivity. And I'm like, dang, I'm out of character right now. Right. Yeah. And then that checks me back to who am I really? I am a person of this. Right. So like, you know, check me, or like, okay, like getting nervous. Okay, Mr. Toastmaster, you're right. I am like I do like I've been doing these little speeches for Toastmasters for like 5 years. I've been practicing, right? Like it's not like I just started walking on stages and doing public speaking. Like I've been actually getting better at it, right? And so that was a reality check, you know. And I love that you said the biblical part, right? I do believe in God, and I do believe in the grand creator, and that like I've done an exercise that like, you know, you always say like, oh, you know, this God's plan, whatnot. But I really started to believe in this stuff when I started seeing, and I think what's really reiterated my faith was actually not like a science lens, but like a very nerdy lens, where it's like mathematically, all these things in life can't be pure chaos. Like it don't make like the 1 out of a million chance, but then it happened. Like I can't just leave it up to pure science of like that this one, you know, like that one left could have been a right, and my whole life trajectory went this way. I just like I can't fathom people that say like this is not orchestrated by something higher than us, right? And so I did another exercise with reiterated. I think I do a lot of like things outside my head. I have like these most random things outside my head, and I have to put it down on paper, like the Excel spreadsheet, because I wanted to see it. Like I need to see data to say how many people in my life have a book. Wow, you got 40 people that you concrete know that publish books, not like random people in Amazon, whatever. I got like Brother Peralta, I got you, I got like real people I know published a book, right? That was evidence, right? And then, you know, kind of the seeing it on paper, maybe that's God's plan that like a lot of people I surround myself publish books. I can do it too, right? Another one that I did that was like a real reiteration of just like purpose and how this happens is I had a list of all the things that were shortcomings. Mm-hmm. Like I wrote like didn't get into JMU. I got waitlisted. And I wrote the year 2023. Didn't cross alpha when I wanted to cross it. 2006. Didn't get into, you know, this job. And I just listed it, right? And in the moment, I probably could say in that moment when I didn't get it, it was detrimental. I felt like, oh, dang, you know. And then years later, this is where I say I can't see God's plan, but I can see it more stoically. If I didn't get waitlisted by JMU, I wouldn't have gone to Bowie State. I never would have got the HBCU experience. That now I can like at least identify with a little bit of HBCU experience because I went there for 2 years.
Yeah.
If I didn't cross alpha in 2006, I wouldn't have crossed in 2017 and wouldn't have the guys I call my LBs, which for those that in Greek organization, like that's really important part of the process, like a real bonding thing. And these guys are really my friends. So I would not have had these gentlemen in my life. I would have had different ones. You know, it could have been, I could have, rocked with the line I had, but like I wouldn't have had this line. Didn't get a job at Mason when I graduated grad school. I applied, but didn't get it right off the bat. I had to work other places for 5 years. But then I wouldn't have started in 2017 and wouldn't have had a supervisor, Tracy Watson, who was the best supervisor for me, that helped me in that hard time, that got me out of that funk and gave me, like, I blame her. She's the one that created a monster. She was like, oh, Phil, you're good. I'm good. What? Like, I remember one time I did a speech. I did a classroom presentation because previously I had a supervisor that told me that I spoke too much slang and rap-a-dap with my hands.
Okay.
And so all the time when I used to do, then I was nervous. I'd always put my hands in my pocket and I'd be like, hello, my name is Philip. Just really, but then I was like, all right, I'm at Mason. And I talked like myself. And I was like, oh no, my supervisor just wanted to observe, Tracy. And I was like, oh gosh, she's probably going to rip me up and say that I was too informal. She's like, wow, you really connected with those students. You did a great job.
Wow.
And I was like, I did. Like that you don't know how, and so I wouldn't have had that in 2017. So I say all that to say, like, very stoically, I do believe in that things happen for a reason, God's plan. And I think sometimes you just got to find a way to like see that, I know some people pray to see God, some people, talk to him. But I don't know. My way of seeing God sometimes is like just letting my thoughts go randomly and then putting things on paper. And I'm like, it's like almost like this scientific lens of it, right? Like seeing things on paper reiterates faith to me, like seeing that this can't be pure happenstance. There is a, what they call the chaos theory, right? Like that random happenstance and we're just normal balls that just bounce into each other, right? But I was like, even with that, I just can't believe that that's all science, right? I think even in this midst of chaos, like I'm supposed to talk to you today. In the midst of this, I'm supposed to like, go to work. Like, there's a purpose that I can't see in that. And so I don't know. That's just me spitballing and thinking about like creatively, I'll bring it back to our topic. Sometimes putting that out there and using creativity reinforces my faith too, right? Like, you think about the song you write, right? And then you're just like, I don't know, maybe I'm just gonna put it out there, but then you never know who listened to that. And that's your way of saving someone's life or helping someone's life that you'll never see, right? Or doing a podcast with people. I have no clue who listens. I don't know how many people, it's this invisible audience that I put out there, but I think about it like maybe when someone listens to one of these episodes, it helps someone.
Yeah.
I don't know who they are, but that's part of it, and that's a cool feeling to think of. Like when you create something, a book, something tangible, take a picture, all that you're just putting ideas into the world that you never know who that might help. And, sometimes it's even beyond your life, right? Like, you heard about these like authors that get famous after they're alive, right? They don't even know that their book helped somebody, right? But they still did it, right? So it's a cool feeling.
And I want to encourage you too, because so you dropped a lot, right? And I think it's one of the things I want to encourage you is I was what was I traveling? This was I was actually going back forth to Harrisonburg. My son does AAU. He had a tournament a few weeks ago. And I was like, all right, let me check out my boy Phil right quick because I needed something to drive to. And so I pulled up the podcast that was most relevant to me was you had one with two, I think, Black dietitians.
Oh, hey, it's you again. The one that is watching this content but ain't subscribed to the channel. Listen, I'm a YouTube embryo, but I have dreams of one day being a full-grown YouTube man. In order to get there, I need your help. Subscribe to the channel. I am trying to help people in their dreams, their callings and careers, and to help scale that growth, all you got to do is help a brother by hitting that subscribe button. Bless your brother so I can bless others. It's that simple. Be blessed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so, like, I listened to all of it, and I think the reason why it resonated with me was in this season, my physical health is a priority. You know, I need to lose weight. I need to recalibrate my lifestyle. So I want to encourage you, but also other people too, that we really don't know, like when you create something, who is going to sit with it and how it's going and really be impactful. And then the other thing I really want to kind of synthesize what you mentioned, man, was the beauty in your relationship with God is very unique to you. You know what I'm saying? Me and you have very different personalities, and all of us are wired very differently. And for me to prescribe like how I sort of my worldview on God and sort of my regimen and cadence and how I have a relationship, it might be helpful, but it's not going to be the uniform way that you will have a relationship with God. So I love how you kind of illustrated that, like you kind of see God from a statistical, stoic data standpoint. Like there's no way through happenstance and all of the random things that, you know, that is just random. Like you find purpose. And the one thing that kind of resonate with me when you're talking about, I think it was Tracy, you said like for you, you know, there was like some insecurity of like, man, I'm engaging with these kids, these students, and I'm just being my authentic self. But, you know, sometimes our authentic self, we don't know if it's going to sit well with other folks. But she encouraged you in your authenticity. Like she encouraged you, you know, using your slang, your personality to make those connections. And I think like that affirms your faith, but also you being you as well. So I think that's just a beautiful thing to remind all of us, like to lean into who we are, and there's a relationship that God wants to have in the uniqueness that which is you. So that's a beautiful thing, man.
Also, I found God a lot too through service. Like I think maybe it's the main thing is I'm a doer. Like so, I found God in service. Like I don't know. Did I tell you I was the chaplain of our chapter, right?
Yo.
yeah. See, right, look at that. See, it's like so one time, like so at Theta Lambda, like right, I think it was 19, right at 19, or yeah, I think it was 19. They're like, hey, Phil, you know, you're a positive guy. We love your podcast. You're uplifting. Do you want to be chaplain? I was like, I'm not even like super religious, bro. They're like, nah, but we need that, right? And I was like, what you got to do? And they're like, nah, you know, just pray at the beginning of the meetings and, you know, be ready for Omega services. This is when brothers pass away. Yeah. I was like, how many of you got to do those? All those don't really happen a lot. I did it during COVID. I did 4 Omega services.
Whoa.
And once again, I think God found me. I would like have to reach out to widows and stuff. And they say, Brother Wilkerson, you know, the women, the widows, God, you know, God bless you, Reverend. And they would give me like, they call me Reverend Wilkerson. They didn't, I was like, I'm not because I was a chaplain. They thought I was a reverend or something. And I would have to do speeches and benedictions in church and all this stuff. And I was like, this is wild. Like, I'm like here in the front of a church doing a little quick sermon and stuff. And I say that to say, like, I don't know. I had to like really tap in. I was like, yo, if I had to be talking about God a lot, I should probably read the Bible a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and I would do like these things. Like I would do these monthly newsletters. I'll send you one. And yeah. I would send it to the chapter, and it would be about, I would just make up a topic, you know, resilience, whatever. But I was like, all right, I guess I should start with a Bible quote. So then I was Bible quote on resilience. Then I put the Bible quote in there, and then I would do my thing. And so it forced me to look at Bible quotes that related to everyday issues. Yeah. And I was like, once again, it was like, this can't be happenstance that I'm in this position as chaplain. And I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, like I found more strength in my faith through serving in this functional role and doing something with it. Right. And I think maybe finding out, maybe this roundabout way is like, I believe in things. I have faith in things, but I have faith in things through action, right? What is it? Faith without actions is dead.
Yep.
Right. So I found that I have faith. I express my faith. I had to do something.
Yeah.
Like I can't just say, oh, God exists. All right. I got to be like, he exists and I'm going to do my part. And I have to do something. Even like you said, like, oh God, why is this happening to me? I'm having a hard time. But then I think about it, oh God, why is this happening? I'm having a hard time. Did I do anything to like make my situation better?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm just asking for help, but I didn't do it. Like you say, like, hey God, help me lose weight, or hell God, help me lose weight, but I'm going to go to the gym, right? You're meeting them halfway, right? You're doing your part, and so I found a lot of faith. I found that my faith was reiterated in service as well, action, and talking to people and helping people, and I always chuckle when someone says, "Oh, God bless you, Brother Wilkerson." I'm like, "Oh, God, like what?"
Reverend
Wilkerson. I'm like, "What?" Like, but I think what it is that sometimes, people can see that you're a good person by your actions, and that will speak. Maybe that will bring someone closer to faith, as not judging them or berating them or whatever. Is like if I help them, maybe that will bring them closer to faith, and they say, wow, this guy helped me, and this is what he represents. He represents a good energy, you know what I'm saying? And like that, you're representing your family and stuff like that. And so I think about that too all the time. It's like, be a good person, because you never know, like that could be someone's pathway to a better life for them, right?
Well, I want to say this to you. So, like, it's funny because I'm looking at our notes, Phil, like, I always end up having these type of conversations about sharing faith, but I never like write this into the script. So I hope that people be their authentic selves. And me and you have chopped it up a bunch of times before. I don't recall us talking about like our faith. So right. Yeah. So I think it's a beautiful thing of like how much purpose and faith drives what we do. But the point I wanted to say just to you, like, I'm gonna just give you some very Christianese language, man. Feel like you have an anointing over you, bro. Meaning that like, I know you brand yourself as Positive Phil. That's not by happenstance. That's not coincidence. Like, I think that you do have a light inside of you that is, that's like, it's almost like like, what's it called? Those watchtowers near the seashore, like to help.
The watch.
I see you. I see you as that. Like sometimes people need you as a watchtower, just being a light, being you, so that as they're navigating rough terrain and like just rugged waters in their lives, so they don't crash. They don't crash out, bro.
Crash out,
That's what I see you. That's an anointing. So I just want to encourage you in that, man.
No, but that's the dim light thing. Remember, I didn't. That comes go back to the cheerleader thing. I thought about it. I was like, you never know. Like you said, you could be a light for someone else. And like, you just don't know, like you said, you don't know what shore, what boat people are on.
Sure.
So you just got to continue to be a light. Because like I said, by being yourself and being your authentic, but true and good self that lives with values, you don't know. I think one thing that also reiterated with that, with being a chaplain, is being so close to death so much. And what I meant by that is seeing funerals, right? And guess what I learned about in funerals? Like you hear about so many people's remarkable lives. And I was like, always thinking like, does this person knew how impactful they were until the church was filled? I don't know. Maybe they did. I don't know. But I was thinking about that. Like every single time we did a little benediction and all that stuff, people said amazing things about these people. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like, I think that also was reaffirming like, wow, these guys maybe in their thought, they were just ordinary people, but they did a lot for people. And hearing those messages over and over again was very affirming. Going to funerals not necessarily is always a sad thing for me. That sounds weird and morbid. No, it's like I read the obituaries. They're really cool to read little people's biographies of their life, and then you like listen to people and like everyone always says, no one talks about what you wore and how cool you were. They always talk about how you made them feel. And everyone always is. They were like, this person helped me, or this person did this, or this person was a mentor. There was every single, family member that speaks at a church during a funeral, they always say something about how nice that person was. I don't think I've actually, knock on wood, I don't think I've ever been to a funeral where someone was like, and they're out there where people like talk bad about the people at the funeral. I mean, there's got to be. I mean,
it's got to be.
There's got to be out there, right? But I've never been to one where they're like, "Oh my gosh, get this person off the mic."
Yeah.
All the funerals I've been to were very glowing about the person. And I, so I like that. I appreciate that. And I found out that word. So I couldn't finish that word.
What is it?
It's called multipotentialite.
Hold on.
So I spell it. It's multipotentialites.
Bro, I don't know how to spell. Oh
yeah, multipotentialite.
Polianite. Okay.
Polianite.
I like that.
I'll put it in the show notes and I'll put it in the chat. But keyword, this person, it means multi and poly. It's like Renaissance people, people that have multiple interests and passions, and they're academics, creatives, all that together. Famous people, Leonardo da Vinci, right? He did painting, but also if you found his book, he also did study the anatomy and did he had drawings of an airplane before airplane. So he was like, you just can't be one. You're a scientist. You're artist. And you find that a lot with people that want to activate both sides of their brain, right? Like, an engineer, but loves music, right? They love the math, but they have to have creative. And so I think I'm definitely one of these I can't just be like, I love to read. I mean, I love history, but then I like, creative stuff. I like making, still make little videos and tinkering. I got lots of hobbies. I love sports cards, and I just got these hobbies that are all over the place. And I think I get very passionate. Maybe it's a side effect of my ADHD or whatever. They say that too, right? You got to like everything and just like, but the thing is, like, there's too much in this world to like not just. I like to dabble in everything. Like, why not have a full experience?
Yeah.
And go. I love watching sports. I love doing it, and I like competing when I was playing sports. I love powerlifting. I had that phase in my life where I was all about powerlifting, and I just had these different multiple interests. And I think that definitely, that word definitely resonates with me.
I love that, man.
Yeah. So. Renaissance man is the other term for it. Like just basically people that are like, they just do so much. They do a lot of like Paul Robeson, brother Paul Robeson wrote, he's an author, he was a scholar, he was a football player, he did everything, jack of all trades, activist, just people that just can't stay in one lane. It's like, why?
Love it, man. Language is super powerful for me as a creator, and especially yourself as man. Just being able to hear like your vantage point, Phil, of your journey as a creative, your journey as somebody that is like trying to dabble and get the most out of life, and doing with a sense of purpose is super dope, bro. As we land this plane, man, I want folks to know more about how they can get connected with you, consume your content, Phil. Where can folks order? Where can they order this masterpiece?
Okay.
More about you, man.
Amazon. It's on Amazon. And you just type in Philip Wilkerson. I think that works.
All right.
And no, go to Amazon and say Philip Wilkerson with one L and Wilkerson, and I think it's one of the first things that come up. So that's pretty cool.
Okay. How can we get connected with your podcast?
And I put the word in the chat so you can have it forever.
Multipotentialite.
That's it. Potentialite. There you go. No, I was always I can read words, but no, my pronunciation of words is horrible. But okay, so they can find the book on Amazon. Type in my name, Philip Wilkerson. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on that platform, Philip Wilkerson III. But type in Philip Wilkerson. If we're already at least one or two people connected, I think I'll pop up. I'm pretty active on that thing too. Positive Philter is, the filter is spelled with a PHILTER. You can find the actual podcast on all the podcast platforms, but then also I have an Instagram page for it as well, and a Facebook. And so, yeah, I'm all over the place. Definitely love to connect. Love to connect on LinkedIn. For those that are creative, I love to do collabs like this. You know, Q, you've been a guest on my podcast. You know what I'm saying? So I love to always host other people and elevate their voices. If you're in the higher ed space, I love to connect on LinkedIn and talk about like career development, and maybe we'll meet at a conference. I'm still very engaged in the professional associations related to career services. That's kind of a space I still stay in. If you're a member of the oldest and coldest fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, I might see you at a conference or something like that as well. And so I'm in all those different spaces, and people can find me on all the things that I just shared with you, the LinkedIn, the podcast, the book on Amazon, all that stuff.
Y'all heard it straight from the horse's mouth. He is a multipotentialite.
There it is. That should be the name of the episode.
I got it. I'm going to put it in there. It in there.
The journey of a multipotentialite. Multipotentialite. But you are one too.
It's something like
a convo between multipotentialites, because you're doing it too.
Hey, man, I'm just living out my purpose, man. Trying to be great.
That's it. I think that I will say to those out there, maybe there's something to think about. We did workshops together and all that stuff about career. I think that really leaning into that is going to be the way that people, okay, for instance, and this is my last 2 cents. We already understand a lot's going on with people getting laid off, right? And so I think there is strength in being a multi-potentialite. Because, and I'll add that at the end, is that if you have these different avenues and ventures and talents that you foster, then you can navigate different things. Like maybe I can go into the creative space if I needed to pivot, or I can go into the political space, if I knew how to be a public speaker. So I would encourage everyone out there to invest a little bit in your talent. Yeah, in your different talents, and feed them. You don't have to you can still have your 9-to-5 lane, but don't. For those out there that are like, dang, I got this desk job, but I was always a great singer. Don't stop singing. Still feed that creative side. You never know where just having that in your life will help you. So don't let go of your side hustles. Don't let go of your side passions. If you like to paint, still incorporate your other passions in your life at scale. If it has to be just a little bit at a time, once a month, still do it. For your well-being, and 2, I think it just keeps your skills up.
Phil, you messed up, bro. You ended the episode. We got to do a part 2 because there's so much meat on the bone, bro, that we got to get to. But
that's how my brain works, man. That's how my brain works. Full circle.
You planting seeds, bro. So we're gonna have to do a part 2 to this for sure.
Yeah, that was fun.
What you just talked about is I don't know the book. It's called design thinking. And one of the principles is kind of a 3-tiered approach. Is where the life you live is A, it's like your current trajectory. Life B is kind of like a pie in the sky. And life C is like if everything fell apart, how would you pivot? And I think a lot of what you just echoed, man, was really feed. I love the word feed all of the different areas, but do it at scale. Feed and scale. So you left a lot of meat on the bones. We're gonna do it too, bro.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, big dog. You've been a blessing, man. I'm looking forward to connecting again.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Better late than never. Better late than never. Forever hard to measure. I might see my future fall away, but you control time, so my future do what you say.